Hey everybody, Soundly here. I know my mic sounds a little echoey and you can hear noise from my fan in the background, which is weird because I have a filter on it. It's supposed to remove that, but it's there. So audio is as good as it's going to get for now. Hopefully it's good enough. I just wanted to shoot the breeze a little bit. I've just been kind of looking at some stuff. Let's see here. So I was indexing like just all of my different observations that I've made, the dates that I've gone out and taken them, and I just thought it was interesting just for demonstrating, you know, how many times I've been out there and just showing you guys what I have. But there's also some pretty cool observations I made here, which I kind of forgot about, which would be worth looking at because they're pretty neat. But look at all these Lake Pontchartrain observations. I mean, look how many times I've been out there. This is just 2017 here. 2018 was a little bit slower. This is pretty much when everything was kicking up with the transmission lines. But yeah, I mean, traveled 6,763 miles in 2017 doing observations. Sometimes it kind of gets overlooked a little bit. What does it say? Mark, if we could hear you, it may sound echoey, but we can't. You guys can't hear me for real? What? Hold on. Let me see what's going on there. What does he mean? He's got to be responding to me, right? Hold on a second. But we can't. Okay, I just confirmed you guys can hear me, so I don't quite understand that comment. All right. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I'm really quiet. Sounds fine on my end. Hello? Let me see something real quick. Let me look at my settings. I am consistent, Jared, with my distance to the mic. I mean, I don't know what the deal is. I keep screwing up this audio. Not sure why. Testing. I mean, it's the same exact setup that I had the other night, so I'm not sure what's going on, to be quite honest. Just give me a second to figure it out. Properties. It is the Yeti. Is the input. I don't know. I mean, it looks right to me. All the settings look fine. So, not exactly sure what's going on here. Sound preferences. That's as high as I can get it. I don't know what else to do. I mean, I'm looking at OBS right now and it's like, I don't know. It looks right. So it appears to be correct on my end, so I'm not sure what's going on, to be honest. YouTube volume at max and monitor fairly high. Technical difficulties. Hold on a second. Is this any better? honestly, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I've actually turned on YouTube myself with my own headphones and listened to it, and it sounds right. So, okay, I'm just gonna go. Okay, seems better now. Okay, well, okay. I think somebody can hear me. Some people can hear me. Some people can't. Not exactly sure. I didn't do anything different. Okay. I'm just gonna move forward, and I'll listen to the playback later and see if there's maybe something I can do different. I don't know. I mean, I have the Blue Yeti. I have the gain turned all the way down like I've been told to. I have a filter on it. I mean, I've pretty much done everything that I think I can do. Now, there is a problem with you know, some background noise, fan noise, which I put a filter on, so that should be kind of canceled out. And there is a problem with the echo, and that's just because my office has concrete floors and hard walls, and there's really not much I can do about that right now. I mean, I'm gonna think about something to do differently, but as far as audio goes, this is pretty much as good as I can get it, I think, without putting carpet on my walls. So anyway, so now I'm completely off track. Okay. Okay. Well, I think the audio is good enough for everyone else, or for everybody, for the most part now. Mark said he's going to put headphones on. I'll try and listen to the audio later, after I've done the stream, and see just how bad it is. Hopefully it's not too bad. Egg cartons, Twitwit, yeah. Considering I share this office with my wife, I'm not sure how far that's going to go. But we will see. Okay. Anyway, I'll figure something else out with the audio eventually. Anyway, just going back to the observations that I've made, just the index of them. Like this is the index of all the different observations I've made. I mostly built this for myself to just kind of remember where the photos are. I have so many photos now that it's kind of hard to keep up with them. I don't have really good photo tagging software or anything like that. I know there are some pieces of software that let you tag photos and keep up with, like, you know, different locations and stuff like that. The locations are built into the photos, so, well, some of them have location information once they've been uploaded to Google Photos, because Google Photos will tag it with my cell phone location at the time, which is nice. Sometimes it gets it wrong. I don't know why, but I'm sure it's something to do with my cell phone having a bad signal at that moment. But yeah, so look, these are all the observations I made in 2017. There's a lot of them, and you'll notice that it covers every season of the year. You know, I started really doing the Lake Pontchartrain observations here. So that's May all the way through this year. I mean, this is basically covers spring, fall, or it covers fall, or spring, summer, fall, and winter, all of last year. And for every observation that I did, the curvature is consistently there. It's consistently there and visible. Now, what you will see is that I've had some observations where I've had looming conditions and some observations where I've had sinking conditions. Those are very interesting observations because it kind of shows you the range, but it also shows you something else that's very interesting, is that during sinking and looming conditions, the scene conditions, the clarity of the observations is really bad. So you'll see, like, you know, just granularity in the photos. You'll see turbulence in the air. I mean, it's just, you'll see things like that. And that's why I kept looking for times of day in different seasons when I could get the water and the air temperature roughly the same temperature, because then you have less turbulence to deal with. And typically those observations come out super clear. And the best observation that I think I made was either December 10th or December 12th. But both of those observations of the causeway were super clear. Now, I think I can actually do better for the daytime observation. So the daytime observation of the causeway that all the flat earthers are having a meltdown over right now for some reason was done back in December. So it's really strange that now they're having a meltdown over it. But that observation from the 15th floor of 3 Lakeway Center was a rushed observation, number one. Jesse was in town for a short period of time, and he was ready to get to his measurements and stuff. And so I just only had a few minutes there to get what I could get. I've gone back there since then and did a live stream from there, but the weather was terrible. The scene conditions were terrible. So I'm waiting on. I'm going to be out of town at the end of October and then early November. But then whenever I come back, I'm hoping to get a hotel room. If it's cool down enough, I'm hoping to get a hotel room in 3 Lakeway again, and hopefully have a lot more time to spend, and of course have the P1000 as well. So I'm going to try and do a live stream from there. That's going to be coming up shortly, so hopefully within the month I'll have a live stream from 3 Lakeway with the P1000. So that will be fun. That will be interesting. I'm hoping for. It's really got to cool down, man. It'll still 88 degrees today here. I mean, and that's Fahrenheit. It means hot, still hot. So hopefully it'll cool down a little bit, and we will get some good, clear seeing conditions. Now, 2018, I've had less observations. I just haven't found the need to go out there as much, and I also had this period of time where, pretty big gap, where I was just focused on work, and so didn't do it. Went to Rainy Lake in 2018, took those observations of George's experiment. George Natchik, I think is how I pronounce it. I think I also had the drone flights during this period of time, but I hadn't actually looked through my photos to remember. I went here. See, I indexed all this based on my location history. So I went here, but I didn't notice any photos from that day. So either I didn't sync my photos correctly on that day, which it's got to be a rare thing, because usually I just come home and take my photos and throw them over to my drive. They automatically get synced up with Google Photos. But for some reason I didn't have photos on these days, and I was at the pier, so I'm thinking that these are probably the drone flight days, and maybe the original drone videos are too big, because if they're too big, then it won't sync up with Google Photos for some reason. There's some type of size limit on it, which is a little frustrating, but it happens. So some photos don't get synced up, and they'll be on my backup drive anyway. Yeah, so just wanted to share this with you guys. So this is my first trip here. This is my last trip out to the transmission lines, which was my first trip to the Manchac side of the transmission lines. Showed curvature from that end too. That was one thing that people have been asking me to do for a while. Seeing conditions weren't really that great, but it was good enough to see far enough, and we could see definitely the curvature there. Also, a lot of these observations are kind of struggling with the P1000 weight, and my tripods are not that good. Jesse Kozlowski actually sent me a tripod, but I'm going to have to find some way to get a platform on it, because it's a surveyor's tripod, and it doesn't, it's not designed for the type of stuff I'm going to put on there. So I'm going to have to find some type of adapter for it, but I'm sure I'll be able to figure something out. Worst case scenario, I'll just use my old tripod and, just focus on, just recording stable shots that I can then play back in video instead of trying to do any live stream with it. Of course, if I'm in 3 Lakeway Center, I won't really need a tripod. I can sit on a table or something like that. So it should be pretty good. You pretty much set the tripod down, get it pointing the right direction, and just let it play. Duct tape and zip ties. I do like duct tape and zip ties. I use them a lot. So it might end up coming down to that. You never know. But hopefully I can get the right gear. I've just bought a L bracket I just bought an L bracket, so I can attach that to my telescope mount, which can handle a lot of weight. So it'll have no problem with the P1000. So I'm planning on using that to make, you know, some solid observations where I don't have to handhold. That's going to be coming up soon, I'm sure. It just needs to cool down, man. It just needs to cool down. Yeah, we have our flat out. Our duct tape expert is in the chat. Okay, so I was looking around today, and I remembered Flat Earth Lunacy, their blog. Flat Earth Lunacy is a cool blog that does a bunch of just a bunch of stuff. Could be organized a little better, but the blog articles are fun. And he had a blog article on this stuff that's been going on with Flat Earth Perth lately. And actually, when I read it, I was kind of surprised at the conclusion that apparently Flat Earth Perth has gone ahead and redone an estimate or something. He says something here. I didn't even see this. So he's now calculated it at 37 meters. Okay, well, that's still wrong. But apparently there was some chit chat about Flat Earth Perth saying, people were saying that the 27.6 meter calculation was only to the bottom of the water tower, and I take issue with that. Now, this is why, this frame right here. So this frame right here says to the bottom of the water tower, but if you actually look at what his numbers, right, and I would argue that the numbers are less ambiguous than English language. So let's see what he's actually calculating here. 12 times 1.8 meters. He gets this 1.8 meter from, you know, I don't know. He just assumes that this fence is 1.8 meters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's where the calculations come from. 12 times 1.8 meters. And I want everybody to look at this and tell me if this looks like the bottom of the water tower. Because it doesn't. Now, you know, his whole methodology is all wrong. We know that. But for him to claim that he's, you know, this frame of his video contradicts itself. So yeah, whenever I look at this, his estimate looks like it's 27.6 to here. So it's very ambiguous, right? And I would argue that he left it ambiguous on purpose, so that he could then backtrack like he's doing now. But I don't care what anybody says. This is not the bottom of the water tower, and that's what his calculation is based off of. So his calculation is 27.6 meters to here. Whatever you want to call this little extra bit, go ahead and add it in there, and I'll give that to him. So what his estimate was 30 meters then, maybe. Okay, so your estimate was 30 meters then, and still off by nearly half, you know, nearly 100% off. So yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever is all I got to say about that. Flat Earth Perth is just one of those guys that all he does is just find these. He tries to find the edge cases and manipulate the numbers so that he can kind of make it seem like there's a problem when there is no problem. There's zero problems with the observation. The observations are legitimate, real world observations, plain and simple. They match the globe, plain and simple. That's just how it works. So deal with it. Stop lying about it. And you know, I would also say, you know, stop defaming. I mean, whoever wants to say that these photos aren't legit, come out here and take a photo. You know, we got what's his name? Thrive and Survive says he's going to come out and do it. So yeah, there you go. You know, if this is a world-shattering, that important, you know, this was so important that this is all about saving humanity from the you know, the evil Illuminati, which is how all the flat earthers seem to act. If it's that important, then buy a plane ticket to New Orleans, come take a picture. Apparently, it's not as important as you're making it out to be, because you're not willing to actually prove it. Flat Out is buying me a roll of duct tape and some cheese puffs. Appreciate that, Flat Out. Okay, so moving along, I have a couple transits coming up. It's a good time of year for me, man. This transit is like literally I can drive 15 minutes down the road and get a centerline transit. This one's going directly over my house Thursday morning at 8:20 a.m., 8:21 a.m. So yeah, that's gonna be cool. This one's a little bit further. Probably skip that one. This one's directly over my house at 112. That's gonna be. I can set it up. I can still set it up. It's just gonna be my lunch break, I guess. Don't they normally tell you the luminosity here somewhere? Oh, no. Yeah, this one's probably not gonna be that good. I'll try it though. It's right over my house. Why not? Okay. That's a 2.6 second one right there. This one's a 1.54. Where's the time on this one? Oh, it's not going to tell me because it's not actually transiting on this path. Let's see. Okay. And then this one's too far away. That one, I don't know. Maybe some of these will be close enough. I'm not sure. Won't be here for that one. Won't be here for that one. Won't be here for that one, so those don't matter. Ah, dang, I won't be here for this one. That's no good. I will be here for this one. I will be here for this one. And I'll be here for this one. So yeah. I'm definitely going to have to go get some of these transits. It's going to be fun. I wish, you know, now I have a P900 and I have a P1000. Both of them have been, you know, proven capable of capturing nice transits. And I haven't looked at the frame rate on the P1000 at like high def frame rate. I'll look at that. So yeah, I have some transits coming up. That's gonna be fun. What is this? Oh yeah. So M. Goodsmith mentioned this. He mentioned this in the chat earlier, way up here somewhere, about this video. I did see this video just the other day, but it's a really cool video. Amateurs that are actually decoding, you know, the signals that are coming from the satellites and pulling down their own images from I think it's Ghost 16. Yeah, it was Ghost 16, I think. There were some other ones too, I think. Pretty cool video. Might want to check that one out. Kind of hard to explain that if you're a flat earther. How about capturing a transit during the new moon? I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to capture an eclipse transit. Who did that? Smarter every day. Smarter every day. Smarter every day. Smarter every day. Yeah, this video is pretty awesome right here. I'd love to do this. ISS transit during new moon right here. Here it is. Pretty cool. Yeah, so the ISS transit during the eclipse last year. Pretty awesome video right there. Might want to go check that one out. Yeah, that would absolutely be awesome, Factart. I wish I would have thought about it, but the place I would have had to gone was nowhere near where I needed to be. So to be, you know, with Sean's group, Sean invited us up. Okay, so yeah, I'm just shooting a breeze, guys. I just kind of wanted to share this stuff with you guys right here. And I'll look at all these different observations I've made. So I literally have thousands of images now in and around Pontchartrain related directly to these observations, in all different various atmospheric conditions during the day, during the night, drone shots, different cameras, P900, Canon Rebel T5, and the Sony or the Sony A7 R2. I've used multiple different cameras, telescope, P900, now the P1000. So pretty interesting things. So there's, I actually pretty much daily I get this, some comment on my channel about if this is real, if this is actually the curvature of the Earth, and the Earth would have to be tiny. It's amazing how many times I hear that comment. I get that comment. It's like almost a daily thing for the last couple of weeks, and I don't know. I mean, maybe my subscribers can tell me this. I don't know what to do as far as, somebody told me to do a FAQ, but it seems like I've done a bunch of FAQs, or I've done a bunch of like wrap ups of like all the different arguments, and they just, after a month, nobody ever watches that video again, or only my new subscribers will watch that video. So it's like it gets forgotten, that I've already done this a million times. I've already answered that question a million times. I've already answered like Tilt Shift Lens. Thanks for the $2, Tilt Shift Lens. Appreciate it. In case you don't know, that's a jab at Mr. Thrive and Survive there. So it's either a jab or it is Mr. Thrive and Survive trolling us. I don't know which one it is yet. I wish I knew who was behind that account. But anyway, yeah, so what do I do? What do I do to answer all these like frequently mentioned comments to where it's always there, to where people can see? I mean, I can make it the intro of my channel, but I kind of like the intro to my channel right now, and most people don't even see the intro to my channel, I've noticed. Even though YouTube lets you set up like an intro to your channel, most people don't go directly to your channel. And that's what I've noticed a lot with flat earthers too. They watch one video of mine, and they're like, "Oh, you just one observation doesn't mean anything." And I'm like, dude, I have literally thousands of observations, like thousands of observations if you count it, per image. But I mean, this is how many times I've been out there. I've had 41 trips to do some type of observation in 2017. And of those, I have thousands of images that are directly related to either transmission lines or the causeway, and videos as well, and live streams and everything else. So, of course these guys could be trolling, but let's assume that, the people that are coming in saying that aren't trolls, right? Like it's actually a new flat earther riding on the fence that just hasn't seen this stuff yet. How do you put something out there to where, you're like, you can just reference them to that every single time. It's like, hey, go watch this video and then we'll have a conversation, because it's no way to keep up with all the comments. And it's hard to know which ones to delete, because sometimes I do delete comments if it's just pure defamation and like, trolling, and it's obvious. I don't have time for that BS. I just delete that crap. 24/7 live stream. Yeah. So I did a 24/7 live stream. It was pretty successful for a long time. And I noticed that my view counts started dwindling. Now, of course, I hadn't changed the content for a while. That could be part of it. But I did realize that, we were blocking, and I say we were blocking the flat earthers, and so I go look in my block list, and it's like 100 people in there. I'm like, well, we can't block them. We can't block them from the live stream. But that's exactly what was happening, is we were blocking all the flat earthers, and they just wouldn't keep coming. It would be cool if you wait. Where'd they go? I hate that it does that sometimes. It would be cool if when you ask a question, you get automatically sent to the appropriate video. Yeah, that would be, it would be very cool. The whole YouTube comment section it's very clunky. For example, like, people are commenting on me on my videos, and I might want to, and I'll see a comment come in, and I might want to say something to them. So I click on that comment, and the first thing it does is it, you know, I'm thinking about the app right now, but it does this on the webpage as well. First thing it does is go to that video and start playing that video. I mean, it's like, man, it's so aggravating. You know, like I'm watching one video, streaming it on my TV, and now in order for me to actually comment back on another video, I have to actually change the video I'm watching. Like, come on, YouTube, figure that out. That's not very good. And the other thing is that I don't get notifications on top level comments. So, you know, somebody will comment on the video at the top level, and it's something that I would have actually liked to respond to, but I never see it. You know, unless I actually go and sit in my little comments section in the back room. You know, basically your creator studio. You can go look through it that way and look at all the comments, but even there it's kind of clunky because like there's some comment, like for example, if you're reviewing comments like that are marked as spam and you accept that comment and let it be posted to your video, it disappears from in front of you. So it's like you have to, if you actually want to comment on it, you have to first like try and open that link based on the timestamp, which it doesn't show up at first. So you have to try and open that link based on timestamp, approve it, then go to the page that you opened up, reload it so that it actually loads the comment that you've now just approved, and then you can comment on it. And if you forget to do that, it gets lost. You know, it's like, oh, what video was that? Or it's gone. It's gone. You know, so it's anyway. Yeah, so I used to have a live stream. I'd like to start it up again. It's just a lot of work maintaining it, like actually putting fresh content in there and stuff like that. And you know, unfortunately, this isn't my full-time job. Hey, I wish it would be, but it's not. Just open a new tab to look at the comments. Yeah, but I'm talking about, yeah, I end up doing that. I end up having 15 tabs open, and then I'm like, there's 3 videos playing, and I'm trying to figure it out. Anyway, but there is a creator studio. So like, if you go to your creator studio, let me go to my creator studio real quick. And so this isn't a terrible. This isn't a terrible way to do it. Let's see. You go to creator studio, you go to community, and then you go to comments. So this isn't a terrible way to do it right here, right? But you see this likely spam. Gee, I can never keep up with this crap. It's amazing how many come in. Yeah, it's like I don't even know why this person's spammed here. Or like, why are they in the spam folder? No, LBB store makes sense. He should be in everybody's spam because he's always trolling and you know, saying nonsense. This one's probably in spam because, yeah, sorry, Stanley, there's clearly no curvature. According to Bislin's most famous advanced Earth calculator, a lot more of that building shouldn't be visible. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. What is he talking about? It's about 200 feet that's obstructed of that building. That's actually a really clear observation of Three Lake Way. So, you know, it's stuff like this. These guys come in here and they start trolling, whatever. I don't really, I mean, this one's not a bad one. I see what this is what happens, right? I hit, yeah, I'll approve that. Now it's gone. All right. So in order to actually comment on that, I have to open it, approve it, and then go back to where it was, or else I'll lose where it's even at or which video it's talking to. It's just weird. Look at all these funny ass comments. It's funny. See, this is what I get every day. Fascinating. From just 150 feet, you can see what can't be seen from the highest mountain on Earth. See, they say this stuff all the time. Like it's like they haven't watched a single video, because I say this every single day. It's like two different geometries. GeoGebra. Oh, why am I not signed in? That's weird. Longest password ever. What? It couldn't even find me. What the heck's wrong with this thing? There it goes. Okay. So if we go back to here, yeah, this one right here. I mean, these are the two different geometries right here. You have a horizon, which this is, you know, even higher than the ISS right here. But if it was a globe. But you have the horizon, right, which is a circle around you and is the intersection of your cone of sight with the sphere. Yeah, that's at very low altitudes, you can't tell that you're looking down on a disk. I mean, you're looking at a flat disk. That's what your horizon is a flat disk. So whenever you are trying to see curvature of this disk right here, you have to be high enough to tell that you're actually looking down on top of a disk. That's what horizon curvature is. The great circle route curvature, however, that is different. So if I'm standing on this circle and there's a structure like the causeway that's actually tracing out this structure, you can very clearly see that. You can very clearly see that curvature. Those are two different types of geometry, and I bring this up all the time. I tell them all the time, and they troll the hell out of my channel anyway, saying the same nonsense over and over again. Oh, this is always an interesting one. Why don't you shoot an observation at Lake Pontchartrain using an infrared lens? Like, that's going to make a difference. For some reason, they're all on this infrared kick, because they're making claims with infrared that the same type of claims they've made with visual, with the like regular light. You know, it's the same claims they always make. Oh, you're seeing too far, but you're not. Whenever you actually look at it, you're not seeing too far. Seeing them always mess up stuff like this. A 5-foot eye height. Why would I be 5 feet? Why? I'm not 5 feet above the water, dude. Have you been to Sunset Pier? Sunset Pier is by itself, like the land itself is at least 15 feet in the air, probably more. So yeah, it works out. Math always works out, but this kind of brings me back to you know, the math works out within a range, right? Because there is a range that's reasonable on a Earth that has an atmosphere and has you know, atmospheric conditions and different levels of refraction. So there's things that make sense, right? And like there's a range that makes sense. But what you don't ever see is zero obstruction. You never see that. There's always some type of obstruction for these long distances. And that's the thing, you know, if you're on a flat Earth, then it's got to be zero. So the math quite literally never, ever works out for flat Earthers. It never works out. If there's visual obstruction at all, the math never works out for flat Earthers. So it makes no sense at all, any of the observations. Yet they want to fickle about ranges of refraction and mirages and superior mirage and inferior mirage and looming and sinking. They want to fickle about these things that are always edge casey things with the globe model. You know, we're talking about the edge cases of the globe model. We're not even talking about flat Earth models. And that's what they do all the time. It's like, dude, you should have zero obstruction on your model. Zero. None. You know, like so what are you talking about? You want to argue about 20 feet? You want to argue about even 30 feet at 24 miles? You want to argue about 100 feet? You know, there are looming conditions that will pull things way up. All right, so speaking of those looming conditions, let me see if I can find those real quick. What days were those? Let's see. Inferior mirage, looming conditions, predicted, observed. Yeah, there were some days where I actually predicted looming, some days where I predicted sinking. So these are some good ones. Looming and sinking here, but there's one that's really good. Let's see. Yeah, here, this is a really good one right here. Let me see, what day is this? February 16th. Let me see if I can find that. My photos, pictures.
All right, February, what did I say? February 16th. So 2018, oh, it's not even in here. That crap. That's not possible. Because it's synced up with Google Drive. How am I missing photos? I don't quite understand that. Gotta pull this off to the side and make sure I don't flash any personal pictures here. Let's see, February. Oh, that's January. Okay, yeah, here we go. February 16th. Here we go. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's pull this back down. Okay. Why did it get it out of the screen? Okay, let's see. Let me open this another tab so we have more real estate to work with. And let's see if I can find a good one in here. This is New Orleans. Where is the one of Three Lakeway? Oh, here. Look, this is a great observation here. So this is definitely some type of looming going on here. And the reason why I say that is because you can see Three Lakeway, and you can see a fair chunk of One Lakeway right here. And then you can see Two Lakeway right here. And these two, like this building right here, usually you can only see the very tippity top under ideal conditions. Now this is taken from essentially the same location. I think this is actually taken from directly below the wind turbine that I usually set up on. So this is taken from the wind turbine, but you can tell if you look at the conditions. I mean, look at the actual observation. It just looks way different. And that's because the atmosphere, the turbulence, you know, and it's not just turbulence, but that it is really mechanical. I guess it is turbulence. It's just the mechanical mixing of cold and hot air whenever you're in these conditions that causes really bad seeing conditions. But this is a looming condition. So whenever you're in good seeing conditions, you don't get near as much refraction. So this is the most refraction. This is the absolute most refraction that I've ever recorded at this particular location. And let me zoom in on that so you can see a little better. And it still is showing. So this building's like 193. So you're still talking about at least over 100 feet of obstruction still on the opposite side. So I've never once ever seen all of this at the same time. Those type of conditions I don't think can even possibly exist. Like I've never looked into the math to see exactly how much refraction you would need to pull that all the way up, but it would be some seriously rare conditions. And, you know, predictable. Based on the conditions, you would know that, yeah, this is a looming condition. That's exactly what I was doing. You know, I was looking, and I was using just a very rough estimate, a rough guide, which is basically the water temperature and air temperature. I've noticed that in my particular observations, you know, whatever, for the most part, the other stuff is pretty much negligible. I can look at the water and air temperature and tell you on that day whether or not you're going to see sinking or looming. Now towering, I think I did see towering a little bit in the 15th floor observation, because if you look at the water tower, looks like it's a little stretched out. So I think you see some towering there. But yeah, I mean, sinking and looming is not all that complex. It's you know, the more dense the air is towards the ground, the more looming you're going to get. So like the higher that gradient, so less dense air into super dense air, typically that means like hot air over cold water. So after a very long cold front, and that's exactly what was going on here. We had a very long cold front, and then we had a heat front come in on top of that cold water, and that's when I started getting this observation here, because I had hot air over cold water, which ended up in some like extremely high refraction situations. And so this is, like I said, this is the highest I've ever seen it refracted, and you're still seeing over 100 feet of obstruction. Typically there's about 200 feet. So there's actually a little bit of a, I think it's actually looming and being squished a little bit as well. Anyway, a very interesting observation. I also have sinking conditions, and I just pointed that out here a second ago. The sinking was here. Yeah, see this bridge AM radio? That's basically pretty much, if I'm there, I'm underneath that wind turbine. So sinking conditions, okay, we're on the 23rd of January. So let me go back to that. 23rd of January. Here we go. Here we go. Here it is. All right, so here's the same exact place, right? This is 3 Lake Way right here. And now look, you can't even see the other 2 buildings. So these are sinking conditions here. And the sinking conditions is the exact opposite. You know, basically I looked at the weather and it was cold air, a cold front coming in over top of warmer water. And that was causing sinking conditions. And you can see right there, that is much different than this here. You know, so basically you're seeing, let me open this so we can compare them side by side. You know, look at the difference there. You see? And it's kind of hard to tell. Am I really seeing only this? This is kind of squished a little bit, but it's hard to tell. But you can still see, even in sinking conditions, how the clarity is just not near as good as the ideal situation. So whenever you have water and air temperature about the same, it pretty much matches up with all of our calculators with standard refraction. So again, let me find an observation on December. I should have just left those open, huh? Let me do that. Let me leave this one open. We'll just compare all of them. What was the other one? January 23rd. That's the sinking conditions. And what's this one? Okay, that's the looming conditions. And here's the sinking conditions. Okay, sinking, looming. Let's put them side by side so we can compare them really easily. Oh, won't let me shrink it anymore. That's weird. There he goes. Okay, there we go. Sinking and looming, and then the other one that we want to find is the ideal weather conditions, which is December 10th was probably the best day. Let's find that one real quick. That's pretty good. Yeah. All right, so compare these conditions. Now this one's a little bit slightly different angle. I'm still at bridge AM, but I'm just a little closer to the bridge. But compare these different conditions here. You know, looming conditions, bad atmosphere, bad clarity. Sinking conditions, it actually looks a little bit clearer, but you know, the atmosphere is still grainy, hazy. But look, this is another interesting thing to look at too, right? If we would have done a laser experiment, which is this is you know, strange to think about, but it's actually there's more obstruction because of sinking conditions. But if we would have done a laser experiment on this day, we might have seen it. I mean, those are city lights over there that are hugging on the horizon, right? But even if you see, like, think about that. Even if you were right here and you shone a laser and it made it all the way to here, wherever this light source is from, you're standing there and you shone a laser and made it all the way to the camera. Even in that condition, this is like 300 feet of obstruction. So that laser would have made it around 300 feet of obstruction to be seen. That's why these laser experiments mean absolutely they mean nothing. Laser experiments are completely worthless. Unless you can put your laser down a vacuum tube, like I'll give you an idea. 4-kilometer vacuum tube like LIGO. Okay. I mean, if you have a 4-kilometer vacuum tube like LIGO, then you're not going to get any refractive problems, right? But in an atmosphere, you're definitely going to be dealing with refraction. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. I mean, look at that. So if you're at this light source and you're showing a laser right there, it might have been visible over here. Okay? Think about it. And then of course flat earthers would be dancing around, oh, Earth is flat. Well, what about this 300 and plus feet of obstruction at the same time? You know, this right here can be explained by our atmosphere with conventional knowledge and conventional science. But the obstruction can't be explained on the flat Earth at all, period. Because refraction works the opposite of what they would need it to do for their, because they're claiming that somehow the atmosphere, Jaron was claiming somehow the atmosphere was causing sinking all the time. So look at this ideal observation anyway. With this ideal observation, the clarity is so much better. I mean, you can actually start making out window panes and levels, and even in this situation, you're still looking through 24 miles, so it's still not perfect. But I mean, look at this. You're actually picking out individual window panes right here under ideal situations. And now this is actually with my telescope, which also doesn't have perfect sharpness, with the P1000 we might actually be able to see this a little better even. We'll see. Not at night. It would have to be during the day. At night, because this, the low light levels will kill a P1000. P1000 just can't keep up with, Sony A7 for low light levels. Only reason I was able to even get these pictures because of the Sony sensor, full frame sensor that's really got a very high sensitivity to it. So anyway, I've just been kind of rambling, haven't I? Just realized that. Let me see what you guys are talking about over here. Night. The flat you later. Am I shooting JPEGs rather than RAW? Yeah, a lot of times I just shoot JPEGs. There's no point in doing RAW unless you're planning on selling the photo for some reason. Soundly, could you do a table refraction of sorts based on your photos and the conditions at the time? Like a tabletop experiment with refraction? I've seen some of those. Some people have done that. I don't know. I haven't even thought about that. Maybe. My 2 cents, you're incorrect. Natural perspective calls for 0 obstruction. There should be no obstruction whatsoever. And with typical refractive behavior, which is light refracts towards the more dense layer. The more dense layer is always towards the ground. It's only going to make it easier to see further, not harder. So, I mean, we've said that a million times. Why don't you guys get it? I mean, I really don't understand. That is how things work. For you to suggest otherwise is just simply, at this point, my 2 cents is lying because you've been told this a million times. I thought Soundly used a Canon or a Nikon as well as P900. The flatulator. If you kind of keep up with the whole saga that's going on over the last year, I started off with a Canon Rebel T5 attached to a telescope. I then got a P900. I then started using the P900 for most of my observations, and then I decided to get a Sony A7R II, which is a 42 megapixel camera, and attach that to my telescope. That's where I've gotten the best photographs that I've gotten so far. Now I have the P1000, which has a similar magnification to the scope. I guess equivalency wise, the magnification of P1000 is better, but it's also a 16 megapixel sensor. So if I put my 42 megapixel sensor on a 2000 millimeter, they're going to be pretty equivalent. They're going to be pretty close to one another, because I can crop down to 16 millimeters and still get really good imagery out of it. But the P1000 does have a sharper focus and a deeper depth of field, so I should be able to get more in focus theoretically with the P1000 during the day. But the P1000 isn't going to work very well at night. I am going to attempt some long exposures with the P1000 to see what I can pull off at night. But you know, I'm just kind of questioning whether or not that little sensor would be able to pull it off. I might have to do some really long exposures. I'm not sure how long the P1000 can even go. I haven't even tried it. My 2 cents, looming is a real thing. Yes, it is. Yeah. Those file names are not from a Canon DSLR. Correct, they're not. They're from a Sony. The flat earthers that are in the chat, I'm really curious. Have you guys even like started on my first video and watched them? I mean, I've laid out everything that I have done. I mean, every single thing that I've done as transparently as possible. I've told you all my equipment. I've shown how my cameras aren't showing lens distortions. I've explained how refraction can't cause obstruction on a flat earth. I've shown you how the 3D models of Walter Bislin matches my observations. I've done it in every single conceivable season, pretty much every weather condition I can think of. I've even done it while it was raining. I've done it at night. I've done it during the day. I've done it when it's foggy. I've done it in clear blue skies. I've done it when it's hot, when it's cold. I've done it when it's humid, when it's dry. I mean, I've been out there so many times, and that's what the point of this whole, you know, spreadsheet is just to point out how many times I've actually been out there and made observations. It's a lot. It's a lot of times. I've spent a lot of time and effort and lots of miles in my car. I mean, yeah, I've just spent a lot of time and effort doing this. And the sad thing about it is that I do all this work and you guys watch one video and think you know everything. You haven't followed the whole journey, man. Go out there and see what I've provided. I've provided raw images from my Canon, raw images. I've provided original images and videos from the P900. I mean, I've just put so much stuff out there for anybody to see. I've given exact GPS coordinates to go to. I've told you about going when the air and the water temperatures are the same, so that you can get all these things that I've learned, this experience that I have had and learned about photography over these long distances, and how, you know, the weather conditions come into play and when to go to have ideal seeing conditions where you're going to get your clearest photographs. I've shared all that information freely with you guys, and you don't learn. You don't take that stuff that I've given to you for free. Why? You know, I've done all this work and put in all the legwork so that I can basically just wrap it up for you guys and show you, you know, how to do it. And instead of doing it, you guys just sit on your keyboards, hammering away. Yeah, they're discussing observations. The curve is not just perspective, my 2 cents. That makes absolutely 0 sense. Okay. So I have a video on this, my 2 cents, YouTube. Yep. Soundly, what is perspective? Here it is. What is perspective? 2 years ago I made this video, okay? An object, no matter how far away it goes from you, okay? No matter how far away an object moves away from you, this angle right here will never become negative. This should just be some common sense. No matter how far away an object moves away from you, the angular size of that object will never be negative, which is what has to happen for your weird obstruction idea of perspective. This is perspective. This is how perspective works. What is perspective? These lines right here create an angle. That is perspective. This angle decreases as the object moves away. It increases as the object gets closer. That is perspective, plain and simple, period. It's very simple. It's a very simple thing to understand. So, constantly saying that perspective is what causes obstruction is ridiculous. It's absurd. It's nonsensical. It makes you guys look like fools. Either that or intentionally lying over and over. So stop. Stop saying that it's perspective, because it's not perspective. That's why I created this video called Flurspective. Go watch the Flurspective video. Where is it? There you go, Flurspective. Go watch the Flurspective video, okay? Because it makes no sense. The curvature that we see matches Walter Bislin's models. Plain and simple. The explanation is there for you. That's all there is to it. All right, skipping ahead. All right. Okay, people just chatting about all the plethora of proofs that prove that the Earth cannot be flat. Yeah, there's a bunch of things that don't work on the flat Earth. That's true. Yes. DKG Custom Soundly, what about the glorious claim that eyes have a range, like vision is a laser scan of the world as opposed to photons hitting your eyes? Yes. Your eyes are passive receivers. They receive the light that has come to them. So I've heard people say that before. Well, what's the limit to your eyesight? Well, the limit to your eyesight is based on angular resolution. So the reason we can see stars that are so far away that have very tiny angular resolution is because once a light gets below the angular resolution limit of your eye, as long as there's still enough photons, it will just appear as a point source. You will still see it, even though it's so small that you shouldn't be able to see it otherwise. The reason why is because if you have just a black background with this point source that's really bright, you're still going to see photons hitting from that spot right there. So your eyes don't have a limit. Basically, if photons arrive, they see it. Does Walter's model also show what it would look like on a flat Earth? I'd like to see his model minus the curvature. Travis Arnold, yes, he does. There's these options down here where you can select flat Earth versus globe. This is what it should look like on a flat Earth. This is what it should look like on a globe. And you can do comparisons, side-by-side comparisons. It doesn't work very well with this one because it's at an angle. But yeah, the easiest way for this one is to do, just to select flat Earth and look at it. There you go. That's what it should look like on a flat Earth. And you'll notice that you can draw a line. If you take a screenshot of this and draw a line from the tip of this utility vault down here all the way to the tip of this utility vault right here, it'll be a straight line. That's what you should expect to see on a flat Earth. And Yeah, you know that's this is the prediction of a flat model right here. And then let's go back to the globe. This is the prediction of the globe. And then if you actually look at, you know, the real world photography, which I have here. Where is it? Let's go. I'm trying to get back to it. Yeah, the real world photography looks just like a globe. And the higher you get, you know, the less you have to deal with, you know, refraction on the horizon. You get to avoid a lot of that stuff the higher you get. It's, I think somebody, Walter mentioned this somewhere. He's talking about it exponentially decreasing as you increase in altitude. Not sure if I got that correct exactly, but Walter's really good with the math behind it. Okay, so go ahead and mention me if you want me to read it, because I can't keep up with the whole thread. Travis, the model is on one of Stanley's videos. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Walter Bislin's models, I mean, ad nauseum. If you've seen any video since he put out those models, more than likely you've heard me talk about it already. How do we get my 2 cents on here with Stanley? Yeah, we could. I'd be happy to have him on if he wants to jump in here. All right, so if you're not mentioning my name, I'm not going to be able to read it because I'm just not able to keep up. The flatulator says he flew over 60,000 feet on Concorde for over 30 years, and you can absolutely not see the curve. Well, that he's just lying at that point. You can. I mean, Wolfie 6020 has shown how you can see the curvature from that height. So has just recently was the Greater Sapien. How do you? Is it the Greater Sapien? I can't remember. Yeah, a Greater Sapien. Okay. Yeah, so Greater Sapien just recently had a video out where he showed the curvature from his plane flight. Where is it? Here it is. Right here. Well, mute, play through this ad. And okay, let's get to where. Here we go. So in this video, he actually pans the camera up and down, just so you can see if there's any type of lens distortion going on. And there you go. So go watch Greater Sapien's video if you think that you can't see curvature from a plane, because you can. You absolutely can, most certainly. What's up with my audio here? Hold on one second. I swear it's like on the wrong setting or something. Okay, I think that's right. So yeah, you most certainly can see curvature from plane flights. The flatulator, I guarantee you that if you showed me photographs, there would be a reason for why you can't see the curvature, which one could be the cloud layer. If you have nothing but a cloud layer in front of you and in the horizons of fuzzy mess, then yeah, okay, maybe you won't be able to see the curvature. But if you have a clear, sharp horizon, then you can see the curvature from that distance. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's been shown time and time again. You saying differently doesn't change that. There is physical evidence that shows that you can, in fact, see it. Soundly, the Concorde comment was you could see curve. Oh, you can see curve. Okay, yeah, okay. Never mind. My bad. I totally screwed up. Yep, my mistake. All right, Soundly, FEP is saying that 3 Lakeway Center is 6 meters below the lake level. I doubt that. 6 meters? No, that doesn't make sense. It might be a little bit below the lake level. It's possible that the base of it is. Because New Orleans does kind of have, not just New Orleans, but Metairie, everything basically that has the, around that area that has the levees. Some of it is below sea level, but if, even if it's like 6 feet below sea level, so what? 6 feet from 24 miles doesn't mean anything. Speaking of that, actually, let me find this photograph that Jesse sent me recently. Give me 1 second here to I might have to shut off. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to shut off my screen for 1 second so I can open up something. Let's see. Open up my personal text messages. Okay, there we go. And where's Jesse? There he is. All right, here we go. Here's the photo. Let me just save this to my desktop. Okay, let's see, desktop. Okay. And now I'll open that over here. Wait, what? Where did it save that thing? That's weird. Okay, drop it on the desktop. All right, open that up. Okay, now I can turn my screen back on. Let's see here. Boom. Okay. Okay, so this photograph right here was taken by Jesse Kozlowski. And assuming that the horizon is about 0 degrees, it's pretty close to that anyway. We're looking at one lakeway right here. Okay, so horizontal line of sight is going to go out towards the horizon, right? Or pretty close. We know the horizon's below eye level, but it's not by much. It's by less than a degree. So it's very small anyway. But it doesn't matter. It's close enough for what we're about to do here. So each of these windows so it's like 2 windows per floor. So we're talking about rough estimate. What's that? Why can't I zoom in? All right, so rough estimate, we're saying like, what's this? That's 30 pixels out of 40, so 3/4. So we're talking about 2 3/4 panes here. So not even a level and a half, right? And this building right here has it's just like 15 feet on top. So we're talking about 10 feet. Let's just round numbers. This is half, so that's 5. So 15 feet. Another 15 feet on top. That's 30 feet. And the building itself is 193 feet. So 193 minus 30 is 163. So rough estimate based on this photograph is that we're at 163 feet. I mean, that's really rough. The other estimate that I've come up with is 10 feet per floor. I'm at 150 feet. So yeah, a few feet underneath sea level doesn't really matter when it comes to this observation, especially because you have this levee right here, which is like, what, 20 feet in the air and nowhere to be seen. This whole 193-foot building, which is completely obstructed in most of my observations. I mean, what does 6 feet matter? Doesn't matter. I'm not even sure what his point is. Jaron was supposed to do a 3 or 4 mile test with fishing line stretched over a lake a few months ago. What? That makes no sense. I don't I've never heard anything about that. I've actually heard somebody call it was called torque the line. There was somebody was trying to do something similar to this. That makes no sense whatsoever. Of course, there's going to be sag in the line. There's no perfectly rigid fishing line that you can stretch out perfectly straight. Turns out that gravity's a real thing. Yeah, lunar eclipse. Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Where are we at? Sounded last night's sunset. The moon was waxing crescent. You could really see how the sun lit the moon. Only way for this, a light source from below, which does not happen on the flat Earth, right? Yeah, you can see the same thing with clouds, right? I'm trying to keep up with this thread and I can't. Yeah, the fishing line test was. That is stupid. I didn't even hear that Jeremy was going to do that. And he probably figured it out pretty quick that it's going to sag. I mean, fishing line would sag in just 20 feet. I mean, you could probably try and torque it all the way out into 20 feet and you're probably still going to have sag in it. My 2 cents on a globe, the curved surface is level. That is just how the model works. You laughing about it just makes you silly because that is the model. Now, you may see observations of reality and think that there's another way to explain it, but you can't argue with what our model is. I mean, our model is the model, period. I mean, that for sure is curved. Gravity. You're arguing gravity. Yeah. So, for anybody that's actually interested in more like scientific study of gravity and how we study it and test it and stuff, there are these stations around the world that actually test gravity. It actually fluctuates a little bit based on just varying things. But one of the things I found very interesting about these stations that do these tests, that just test gravity locally, these little bitty weights they drop and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting how they do it. One of the things that I find interesting is when it rains very hard around one of those stations, it changes the results because the mass of the water itself affects gravity in that local area. So explain that, flat earthers. Why does rainwater affect how fast things fall to the ground? That's interesting, isn't it? Just the presence of water, presence of large amounts of water causes that. This guy's just a troll. He doesn't have anything like actual questions or anything. And he's he's fact immune, all right? The more information you actually give these guys, the more that they kind of push back into their protective zone. And that's when they start lashing out with all these memes and stuff. It's a defense mechanism, really. Am I going to see the movie First Man? Yes, I am. It's been kind of controversial, I guess, because of the politics involved in it. But I'm probably going to see it. Yeah, I'll probably watch it anyway. I don't mind watching controversial things. My 2 cents laughs at the model because, well, you can laugh at the model all you want, yet that's how science works. You see, you first take a bunch of observations, you generalize those observations, basically guess what's causing them. You create a model based on your guesses and your ideas about that, and then you test that model. That's how science works. And the model that we have right now, WGS 84, that model matches all of our observations for the most part. I mean, if there are any discrepancies, it's because there's a need to refine the model based on better data. Yeah, WGS84 works. It's what airplane pilots use to navigate. It's what Google bases their maps on that you use whenever you ask for directions from Google. So it works, and that's how we know things are true. That's how we quote unquote prove that things work. That it's true is that that the model works. It has practical ramifications. If you can take the model, make predictions about reality, like if I travel on this line at this angle, then I'm going to end up here. In 20 minutes at this velocity. If you can do that, then your model works, and that's how science works in general. I mean, we're not deductively proving anything, right? That's not how science works. Science doesn't deductively prove things. Now, mathematics does. Mathematics deductively proves things, but what we do is we deductively test our models. So we build a model, which is induction. Essentially, we go from observations to models with induction. We basically generalize our observations into a model that we think makes sense and that will predict future observations. And then we create hypotheses, which people do every day. And we don't have to use these words like models and hypotheses, but basically you test our model every day by using Google Maps, and it actually driving you from location to location. And so far, the observations work with our model, and where the observations break down, you have to refine your model. That's how science works. And luckily for you, because of that method, there are people that have discovered how electromagnetism works, and they've discovered how to build transistors, and they've ultimately develop these computers that you can now use to actually send your nonsensical messages to us. That's all based on the same science. So, same scientific method, I should say. Slightly different science. And that's how we prove, we can prove that models match observations. That's what we can do. That's the deductive part of the scientific method. That's the things that you can prove, is that this model makes this prediction. Whenever we actually test that prediction, does it hold, yes or no? That's where the deductive part of the scientific process comes in. And whenever you have a model that can predict all the observations that you make, and ideally predict future observations, which is what happened with special relativity, right? We actually predicted or Einstein predicted lensing, right, of light based on gravity. And whenever those predictions are shown to be true based on experimentation, then you're fairly certain that your model's pretty good. And that's what ends up happening, is the model gets refined over time. And the more you refine that model, the more that you can narrow down what reality will actually do whenever you observe it. That's how science works. And it's a formal reasoning process, and it's formal reasoning is much better than subjective reasoning. And unless you have a model, then you can't really participate in formal reasoning. And unfortunately, flat earthers admit they don't have a model, so they can't participate in formal reasoning, not based on their model. Still arguing with him about it. So here's a really good question, my 2 cents. Will you join me in here, my 2 cents? Will you join the hangout? Maybe you can contact me on Hangouts. It's my email address, which is in the about section of my YouTube channel. You contact me in there, then we can set up a hangout. I'm not sure how to add a hangout to OBS. I guess I can put it on this. Yeah, I could put it on the desktop. Yeah, the globe model gets things right. The globe model can make predictions about reality. The flat Earth model's predictions are like routinely falsified. Where the flat Earth models has unique predictions that the globe Earth doesn't also predict, it's continually falsified. Basically, none of its stuff works. My 2 cents, there are actually not many problems with the globe. Any problems you do find will just be a refinement to the globe, because you can't go too far. There are certain things that we do know, with you know, as certain as you can be in science. Again, your certainty is based on practical results. We have practical results based on our model, which is navigation, which is the ability to launch things into orbit, the ability to predict where the planets are going to be a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a year from now, the ability to predict the next lunar eclipse, the ability to predict the next solar eclipse. All that's based on the conventional scientific models. So those practical results are really what, I don't want to use the word prove, but it's really what it shows you that it's working, that it works. Anyway, I guess he's not going to join. But if he's not going to join, then I'll just bring this up. Why, whenever you're on a parabolic flight, my 2 cents? I'm gonna ask you to answer in the chat, but I'm directing my question to you, my 2 cents. Why, when you're on a parabolic flight, do people and air and water and oil not sort based on why does parabolic flights prevent the sorting from occurring? I'm assuming that by this point he's heard my question and just choosing not to answer. Anyway, okay, so yeah, I meant to say density-based sorting. So density-based sorting does not work on parabolic flights. Now that makes complete sense with conventional science, but that makes no sense based on flat Earth science, which says that density-based sorting, basically on the density of the objects, should occur What is he saying? Because when you are flying at free fall, the heavier, denser air will go to the top because it will move slower than the less dense, more buoyant things. But that doesn't happen. What I'm saying is, if you have water and oil sitting next to each other in a container on a parabolic flight, you can shake them up and the density-based sorting will not occur. The heavier stuff won't go to the top, the lighter stuff won't go to the bottom, and it won't happen in reverse either. They just stay there mixed up. Why is that? Well, you can't answer that question. And that's what gives away the whole density-based sorting thing. Because the reason why it doesn't happen is because you're at 0G. Okay, 0G. Gravity, the acceleration due to gravity, is necessary for density-based sorting. Not just due to gravity. I mean, we have centrifuges, right? We have centrifuges that they use in the labs all the time to separate things based on density. So you just need a force that provides a preferential direction. You know, something that you can say there's a down or an up, right? If you don't have that, which you don't on a parabolic flight, then you won't get density-based sorting. But on a flat model, for the flat theory to work, density-based sorting should work in 0G. And it doesn't. And it can't be any simpler than that. Yeah. I did confuse them because once you ask them that question, they're like, oh shit, I have no idea. That makes sense. What do I have to do? Oh, well, what type of hurdles do I have to jump through and tricks do I have to play on myself to think differently? Yes, you're falling at free fall, which is because you're at 0G. But if you're falling at free fall, that should not affect your density-based sorting. If you have oil and water sitting next to each other in free fall, so what it's in free fall? They're sitting next to each other. They should sort based on sitting next to each other. They don't. Therefore, your theory makes no sense. So what, my 2 cents? Free fall shouldn't matter for your density-based sorting. It's the whole point. My 2 cents. Why doesn't oil and water do density-based sorting when they're both falling right next to each other? They're sitting right next to each other. They have two different densities. One should go one way, the other should go another, based on your theory. That's the implications of your theory. That's why scientific method, that's why testing is important. That's why when you create a model, which is what you're doing whenever you say density-based sorting, whenever you create that model, you have to test it and see if it actually makes sense with the real world. It doesn't. It doesn't make sense with our observations. Every time flat Earth is tested, it fails. Anyway, this was just supposed to be shoot the breeze anyway. Kind of informal. I was kind of hoping to have Simon and Dan on tonight. He couldn't make it, but I'm hoping to get him on another night. And later this month, I'm supposed to be having a chit chat with Conspiracy Cats. So I'm looking forward to both of those conversations whenever I get that lined up. We don't have anything set in stone yet, but hopefully we will. Anyway, okay, well, same chat going on that goes on pretty much every other stream. Don't have much more to say. Just kind of looking at some things, kind of giving you guys some ideas about what's coming up. Oh yeah, we were talking about Flat Earth Perth and Walter Business Models and Transit Finder. I'm going to be having some transits coming up really soon this next week. So I'm going to try and catch those and stick them on my calendar. And that's pretty much it. Don't have much more to say. And I'm going to call it a night. Alrighty then, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.